I took a night shift at a haunted mine, 7 rules to survive the dark truth. The air was thick with despair and whispers as the sun sank behind the jagged peaks. When Randy accepted the night shift at Morgan's mine, he heard the legend's rumors buzzing through town like angry bees, tales of spirits trapped in the dark, and the chilling cries of lost souls echoing through the tunnels. For 3 long nights, the sounds of clattering chains and distant, mournful sobs wouldn't leave him alone. Each flicker of the overhead light made his heart race and his palms sweat. What had he gotten himself into? The walls seemed to breathe, the damp earth shifting as if alive. There were reports of a miner who had vanished a century ago, his body never discovered. They said his spirit guided the misguided, warning them of dangers deep inside the mine. As he gripped his flashlight, the light flickered nervously, dancing with uncertainty. Was it just the faulty wiring, or was someone or something watching him? In the past, workers had picked up strange silhouettes in the corner of their eyes, glimpses of shadows that slipped through the walls, and when night fell, even the bravest turned pale, clutching their lanterns like lifelines that he could almost hear the ancient whispers surging around him, "Beware the 7th rule, it will cost you everything." He swallowed hard, his throat tight with rising panic. The legends warned about a hidden chamber no one dared to enter, but the pull was intoxicating. What secrets lay behind that door? Could they be worth the risk? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As he stood there, the mine's eerie stillness enveloped him. Would he be the next victim of the darkness? The air crackled with anticipation, and his breath caught in his chest as a loud bang erupted in the distance. The sound echoed through the caverns like a gunshot, sending a jolt through him. He could feel the weight of countless eyes fixed upon him, the chilling sensation of icy fingers trailing down his spine. Daring himself to take a step, he glimpsed a shape darting past him, a flicker of white, disappearing into the black. A heavy silence fell, as if time had stopped. What secrets were waiting in the shadows? What rules would he break to survive what lay ahead? The darkness pressed in around Randy like a living, breathing entity. His heart hammered against his ribs, each pulse a reminder of his solitude in this forsaken place. Had he really signed up for this? As the echoes of the loud bang faded, his mind raced through the shifting patterns of fear and curiosity battling within him. The flicker of white, he'd seen a ghost. A trick of the light. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was meant to follow it. Every instinct told him to turn back, to save himself from whatever horrors awaited him in the unseen depths. Yet, the urge to uncover the truth gnawed at him, promising satisfaction that felt irrevocably intertwined with danger. The whispers around him swirled, tantalizing and enticing. He could almost hear their voices, a blend of warning and seduction. If only he could decipher their meaning. Navigating through the narrow, damp tunnels, he swallowed hard, trying to shake the chill that rooted itself deep within him. The flashlight flickered again, casting eerie shadows that danced on the walls. Each pulse of light revealed fleeting glimpses of jagged rocks and cracked earth, but those fragments of familiarity were overshadowed by the creeping dread building in his chest. Then came another sound, soft, rhythmic tapping, as if someone was hammering away into the wall. A shiver traveled down his spine. Was it possible another worker had ventured into the mine? He strained to hear, holding his breath. The tapping grew louder and more insistent, drawing him toward it like a moth to a flame. He stepped carefully, the ground uneven beneath his boots, feeling his breath quicken. As he rounded a corner, the sound abruptly stopped. The sudden silence slammed into him like a physical blow. The air thickened, and the hairs on the back of his neck stood on end as a vibration echoed through the walls, deep and resonant, as if the mine itself were warning him to retreat. He hesitated, caught between that temptation to know more and the primal urge to flee. What could he possibly gain by advancing? "Get out," an eerie voice whispered in his ear. He whipped around, but there was no one. The weight of the darkness felt heavier, pressing upon him like a cloak. The fleeting thoughts of the miner lost to time flashed through his mind again. Could the spirit be warning him? Or was it encouraging him to discover the truths buried within? Why was he even considering this madness? Gathering what little courage he had left, he tiptoed deeper into the mine's belly, determined to find the source of that tapping. As he walked, the walls began to shimmer, almost alive with a spectral glow that both terrified and fascinated him. A sudden flicker of the flashlight illuminated a doorway, half hidden by a tangle of roots and debris. This must be it, the hidden chamber. He felt his heart race as he pushed the heavy timber aside, revealing a crack in the earth. A low moan slipped through, weaving into the air and curling around him like smoke. What lay beyond? He could feel the air shift, thickening with anticipation. Randy couldn't turn back now. He was trapped in the web of his own curiosity. With an exhale, he stepped forward, the darkness yawning wide to embrace him. As he crossed the threshold, the weight of history crashed down around him. The door slammed shut behind him with a deafening bang, echoing through the labyrinth like a death knell. With nowhere to go, he turned to face the darkness. The whispers swelled again, more frantic now, but there was a new voice buried within them, a voice he recognized. "Randy," it called softly, almost pleading. And then he remembered the seventh rule. What did it cost? Randy's breath caught in his throat, the familiar voice sending a jolt of recognition through his veins. The spectral whispers twisted and turned around him, echoing memories he thought he'd buried. Who was calling him? The realization gripped him with a cold urgency that threatened to drown him in fear. "Randy," the voice pleaded again, this time tinged with an unmistakable sense of desperation. It was his sister, Sarah. A flood of panic surged through him, igniting a longing to reach out, to save her from whatever torment had bound her to this dark place. "Sarah," he forced out, the sound lost in the oppressive air that pressed down on him. The mine felt like a prison, each stone and shadow mocking his pleas. Was she here, somewhere lost within the walls, trapped like those poor souls he'd heard about in town? The darkness pulsed around him, alive with energy, and the low moans turned rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat, predictable yet unsettling. It beckoned him forward, deeper into the unseen maze. He strained to listen, trying to discern the subtle hints within the cacophony. "Stay with me," her voice faded to a whisper, weaving itself through the shadows, urging him to follow. Against his better judgment, he stepped farther into the unknown, his flashlight flickering as if teasing the truth ahead. Every step felt like a gamble, the mind shifted around him, reshaping its layout with each heartbeat, as though it thrived on his fear and curiosity. Suddenly, he stumbled upon a larger chamber, illuminated by a ghostly light that emanated from an opening in the wall. Something ancient resided within a faded altar adorned with cracked offerings, remnants of an inexplicable ritual. Symbols scrawled in dust and decay hinted at a legacy long forgotten. His pulse quickened. "Sarah," he called again, voice echoing back, warped and distorted. The walls seemed to ripple with the sound, mocking him once more. He was losing the thread, slipping into a darkness that felt both magnetic and suffocating. But then, he noticed something, an object glinting in the dim light near the altar. Randy stepped closer, heart racing as the soft glow flickered in recognition. A locket. His sister's locket. The intricate design was unmistakable, a cherished gift from their mother. She had never let it out of her sight. A surge of hope mixed with dread coursed through his body. What happened here? He whispered, looking around, half expecting a phantom to appear, to show him what horrors played out in this forsaken mine. The walls responded, their whispers twisting into a symphony of confusion and warning, beckoning him closer. He reached for the locket, fingers trembling. As he touched the cold metal, a violent shudder erupted through the chamber, sending dust and debris cascading from the ceiling like rain. Shadows collided, swirling chaotically, and the moans escalated to deafening cries as the mine erupted with fury. Instinct kicked in, and he dropped the locket, stumbling backward. The walls throbbed with a life of their own, a furious warning echoing all around him, a warning he could no longer ignore. Get out! Get out! The chorus rose as the very air around him thickened, tightening its grip. Randy turned to run, but the path he had taken vanished in a whirl of shifting darkness. Panic gripped him. Was he truly trapped? Uncertainty loomed heavier than the darkness itself, a web of terror ensnaring him. If he didn't escape soon, would he too become a voice in the whispering depths? With every ounce of adrenaline surging through him, Randy sprinted in a random direction, praying for any glimpse of light, any sign that he was lost forever, but the voices turned to laughter, a chilling sound that echoed through the tunnels, reverberating off the walls like a haunting taunt. What awaited him deeper within this nightmarish labyrinth? Would he find Sarah, or would he be claimed by the mind's insatiable hunger for souls? He could feel the pulse of the ancient darkness urging him onward, promising answers, but at what cost? As he raced against time, one thought lingered in his mind: had he unwittingly crossed the line that separated the living from the lost? Then, from somewhere deep within, a cry broke through the chaos, a familiar voice, raw with anguish. Randy, help me. The choice lay before him now, but he needed to decide quickly. Would he pursue the truth, or would he flee from the looming shadows that threatened to consume him? What comes next could change everything. Randy's heart thudded in his chest as he spun around, the echo of Sarah's cry bouncing off the walls like a wild animal. The laughter had faded, leaving a chilling silence that threatened to swallow him whole. He clenched his fists, battling the urge to succumb to panic. Sarah! He barely recognized his own voice, raw and desperate, as it sliced through the stillness. Time was unraveling around him, and he could almost hear the ticking of the clock in his mind as each second felt like an eternity. In the aftermath of that last cry, a part of him yearned to find Sarah whatever it took. But the other part? It screamed to get out, to escape the sinister grasp of the mine, which felt more alive with every step he took. Swallowing hard, he squinted into the murky darkness ahead, where whispers threaded through shadows. Where are you? He murmured, wishing for a reply, a sign, anything that could guide him through the oppressive darkness that he stumbled forward, risking the uncertain terrain. The walls shifted, squeezing tighter as dread crept up his spine. Each breath came shallow, his instincts screaming that he might be unraveling something he wasn't meant to. Then he caught sight of it, a faint glow emanating from a narrow passage to his left. His flashlight flickered as he moved closer, illuminating the uneven stone, dust-covered and ancient. A glimmer of hope sparked within him. Sarah! He ventured out again, but this time, it wasn't just a call. A figure materialized at the far end, silhouetted against the ethereal light. Randy's blood ran cold. Sarah? He hesitated, taking a step forward. The figure turned, swathed in shadows, an unmistakable face revealing itself as the dull glow embraced her. But something was wrong. A hollow sadness lay in her eyes, flickering with an ethereal intensity that didn't belong to the living. She appeared torn, trapped between dimensions, an echo of the sister he knew. Randy, her voice was a whisper of sorrow and despair. You shouldn't have come. Fear clawed at his throat, choking out the breath he needed. I'm here to save you. What happened? But as she spoke, the space around them pulsed, shadows stretching and curling like the tendrils of an unyielding beast. It wants you. You must leave. Please. Not without you. The words tumbled out, a fierce determination welling up in him. But as he took another step forward, the ground rumbled beneath him. Randy. Her voice cracked, desperate. Run. Suddenly, the mine erupted. The walls twisted, cobwebs of darkness reaching towards him as the very stones screeched in protest. He stumbled back, the light from his flashlight flickering wildly. No! He shouted, feeling his way along the damp, crumbling wall behind him. Panic grabbed hold of his heart again, squeezing tighter as the shadows closed in. But in that moment, he felt something brush against his wrist, the locket. He glanced down to see it nestled there, pulsing with warmth, a beacon amid the chaos. "Let me in." Randy begged the darkness. He lunged for Sarah, but as he reached towards her, the space between them darkened, a ravenous void threatening to consume everything. A guttural sound echoed, circling around him, born from the very depths of the mine. "Leave her," it growled, an agonized voice rising from the churning shadows. He hesitated, caught between his sister and the all-consuming fear, but then urgency surged through him as he felt the heat of the locket radiating into his palm. Was it the key to breaking her free? "Hold on!" he yelled. The darkness screamed in rage, disorienting him as he lunged forward, aiming for the light, for Sarah. But just as he was about to grab her, the earth beneath his feet gave way, and he found himself plunging into an abyss, a new darkness, deeper and more foreboding than before. As he fell, a terrible realization struck him: what if he had lost her forever? The descent seemed endless, shadows swirling around him, taunting him, urging him to give in. The mine was alive, hungry for his fear, yet somehow, he felt that flicker of hope, the locket still clutched in his hand. What did it mean? And would it lead him to Sarah, or deeper into the mine's dark heart? As the bottom approached, shifting shapes beckoned from the void. Would he find answers or more horrors lying in wait? His scream resonated through the endless dark, swallowing him whole. Randy's body slammed against the cold, unyielding ground, a jarring impact that knocked the breath right out of him. He lay there for a moment, ears ringing, panic building as shadows danced around him. The locket pulsed in his grip, a steady reminder of the life he fought for, yet its glow was barely visible amid the overwhelming darkness. "Sarah!" he rasped as he pushed himself up, hands trembling. The small chamber he found himself in was cramped, with rough rock walls closing in tight. He flicked the flashlight on, its beam weak and flickering, casting eerie shapes that writhed across the stone. "Where are you?" he whispered, heart racing. Every echo felt like a taunt, a reminder that he was alone, or at least, he hoped he was. Suddenly, the shadows shifted. A slithering noise curled towards him, slapping against the walls with a sinister rhythm. It was a sound that gnawed at his sanity, filling the space with a suffocating dread. He fought the urge to bolt, wrestling with his fear, focused on the faint hope of reaching Sarah. As he stood, assessing the chamber, he noticed several old, rusted mining tools scattered about: picks, shovels, remnants of forgotten souls who had once toiled in these dark depths. Their stories echoed in the stale air, whispers of warnings that danced tantalizingly close to his ears. The shadows grew heavier, coiling tighter around him. As he took a cautious step forward, the ground vibrated underfoot. "What the hell?" he gasped, barely able to keep his balance. The walls trembled, stone grating against stone, like the mine itself was protesting his presence. "Randy!" a voice called, faint but distinct. His heart leaped. Help! It was Sarah. The sound sliced through the oppressive gloom, sending adrenaline racing through his veins. "Sarah!" he shouted, fueling the urgency burning within him. He moved towards the direction of her voice, the flashlight beam wavering in the thick shadows. "Please! I can't hold on much longer." Her cry was laced with panic. With each ragged breath, he fought against the suffocating fear closing in around him. "I'm coming!" he yelled back, pushing through the fear, praying he wasn't too late. The passage ahead widened, and he stepped into an alcove, the wall glistening damply with moisture. In the middle stood an old well, stone slick with a dark film, emanating a sickening odor that turned his stomach. There, glimmering in the darkness, was a liquid that shimmered unnaturally. Something flickered just out of reach. He fought the instinct to recoil. "What is this?" he mumbled, bending down, mesmerized by the surface that rippled like it was alive. But then he remembered Sarah. He couldn't linger. "Randy!" Her voice shook him from his trance. It was closer now, yet mingled with a sound he dreaded. "You have to hurry." Bolting towards a tunnel to his left, Randy felt a wave of unease wash over him, like a cold hand brushing against his spine. The flashlight flickered agonizingly. If he lost light now, stay right there, I'm coming. He shouted, pushing deeper into the tunnel, careless of the rubble beneath his feet. The haunting echoes of Sarah's voice spurred him on, their familiarity grounding him in the chaos. Each step felt like a challenge. The mine groaned, the sound of something large shifting, clashing rocks together like an ominous warning. He caught glimpses of twisted shadows manifesting in the corners of his vision, fleeting figures that evaporated when he turned to face them. Randy, another voice whispered, deep, guttural, filling the air with despair. It reverberated through the walls, a mournful lament that chilled him to the bone. Leave now. His heart pounded wildly, his instincts screamed for him to flee. But he couldn't. He abandoned Sarah. I'll never leave you, he shouted defiantly, pushing beyond the fear. Just then, an icy wind surged through the passage, extinguishing his flashlight in one swift motion. The world plunged into darkness. Panic surged through him as he fumbled for the locket. It was still warm, still pulsing, still a beacon. Randy. Her voice again, closer. But it was intertwined with something else, something darker, a hiss that slithered across his skin. Stay close, he yelled, heart racing. As he braced himself against the wall, he felt the coldness shift, an entity creeping toward him from the abyss. With fear clamping a cold hand around his chest, Randy realized, he wasn't just racing against time, he was being hunted. What dark force had awakened in the mine? And would he find Sarah, or was he already too late? Everything pressed in around him, shadows merging into a chaotic swirl of nightmares, marking the beginning of a fight for survival. Would the locket's power lead him to salvation or into the heart of the darkness? Dread coiled around him like smoke, suffocating. There was only one way forward, and he had no idea what awaited him. The darkness cradled Randy like an unwelcome embrace, thick and suffocating, a void filled with unseen terrors. He could hear the echo of his own breath, quick and breathless, mingling with that of the mine's ghostly whispers. Sarah. He called out again, his voice barely a whisper, swallowed by the blackness surrounding him. He tightened his grip on the locket, its warmth a fragile assurance that he was still anchored to something real, something alive. Can you hear me? A faint rustle reached his ears, like fabric brushing against stone, sending a fresh spark of dread racing through him. He strained his senses, instinctively holding his breath, waiting. The air felt charged, pulsing with something unseen, as though the mine itself was holding its breath in anticipation. Randy, her voice floated to him, whisper soft but laced with urgency. His heart surged, a rush of determination flooding through him. I'm here. Where are you? Faster. Please. Sarah's plea was layered with a desperate edge, as if she were on the brink of being lost to whatever haunted these depths. With no time to waste, he pushed forward. Each step seemed to take an eternity, the ground slippery and uneven. Just as he thought he could move faster, a loud crash echoed nearby, shaking the walls around him. Dust rained down like confetti from a hellish celebration, and Randy stumbled, fear scraping at him like jagged rocks. Don't look back, he muttered to himself, forging ahead, even as dread writhed in his gut. Just stay focused. He moved onward, heart pounding as he felt a presence gathering in the shadows behind him. The air turned icy, prickling against his skin like 1,000 needles. Randy, the dark voice returned, murmuring sweetly, almost like a lover's call. But he knew better. His body felt heavy under the weight of its intention, feet urging him to turn, to look. But he couldn't yield. I'm coming, he shouted into the blackness, every muscle in his body coiling with adrenaline. He pressed on, desperate to reach her. But as he rounded a corner, the passage opened into a larger cavern. The walls glittered with mineral deposits, glistening like trapped stars. In the center lay a sprawling pit, an abyss that seemed to breathe beneath the thin layer of rock. Shadows flitted across its surface, flickering like the tails of dark fish beneath the water. Sarah! He cried again, instinctively moving toward the edge. The pit yawned wide, its depths obscured by a thick mass of darkness. It was unnatural, alive, whispering promises of despair mixed with secrets long forgotten. Then, from the corner of his eye, he caught a glimpse of movement. A light faint like a candle, but it was there, flickering, pulsing. His heart leaped. "Over here." Sarah's voice called again, echoing off the walls, but it was mixed with an unsettling laughter that made his blood run cold. "Sarah?" he said, dread pooling in his stomach. He took a sideways step closer to the pit, squinting into the darkness. Suddenly, a strong wind exploded from within, howling like the damned, snatching at his clothes and whipping his hair around his face. He staggered back, heart racing against the throbbing echo in his ears. No, no. He had to stay focused. Stay away from the pit. He shouted, adrenaline pumping through his veins as he braced against the wall. "I'm coming for you." But the wind screamed louder, and he realized it was not just wind. Faint figures began to flicker into and out of focus, rising from the pit's depths, your worst nightmares given form, spirits of the forsaken contained in the shadows. "We're not done, Randy," one hissed, voice dripping with seduction and menace. "There's more than one waiting for you here." He swallowed hard, pulse racing as he felt that familiar urgency creeping in. He was not just fighting for Sarah, he was fighting for his sanity, for his very soul. "Get away from me!" he shouted defiantly, desperately pushing away the encroaching panic. The locket warmed against his chest, a steady reminder of hope. The figures began to close in, surrounding him on all sides, a swarm of darkness pulsating with malevolence. The laughter grew louder, echoing off the cavern walls, a relentless cacophony that threatened to drown out his thoughts. Randy stumbled back toward the tunnel, but as he turned, he felt the ground shift beneath him. The mind didn't just shift, it seemed to move with purpose, as if choosing its victim. Where was Sarah? Would he find his way back to her, or was he lost in the abyss, destined to join the seeking shadows? The threat lingered at his back, always advancing, always hungry. In the suffocating dark, he vowed to fight with every ounce of strength he had left. But then, a loud crack echoed behind him, the ground splintering as fresh terror broke free. What fresh horror had awakened in the mine, and could he save Sarah before it consumed them both? Time was running out. The echo of that crack reverberated through the chamber, vibrating in Randy's bones, paralyzing him momentarily with dread. The air felt thick enough to slice, and his instincts screamed for him to run. Yet, the flickering figures from the pit remained, their laughter morphing into sinister whispers. "Join us, Randy," they beckoned, voices twisting together like smoke. He shook his head violently, trying to dispel the blues and grays swirling around him. "No. I want." Finding his footing, he bolted, eyes narrowing on the tunnel from which he'd come. With each hurried step, the ground bucked as if alive beneath him. The shadows clawed at his heels, insistent and hungry. The mind seemed to shift, quaking, almost mocking his flight. He barely made it back to the narrow passage when he heard a bone-chilling sound, another crash, but this time from the pit itself. The echo built up in the cavern, rolling like thunder. Randy dared a quick glance back. The pit pulsated, and from its depths, a thick mist began to crawl upwards, curling invitingly toward him like a siren's call. "Sarah!" he shouted, hoping to reach her through whatever veil lay between them. "I want to leave you. Randy." This time, her voice was clearer, more insistent, filled with unyielding fear. "Help me." The urgency in her tone cut through the veil of his own terror. He couldn't let her down, he wouldn't. But as he turned again, the hairs on his neck prickled. The swirling shadows were closing in, and in their depths, he glimpsed tortured faces. Each one a chilling reminder of lost hopes and surrendered souls. They reached out from the dark, skeletal fingers stretching toward him, desperate to pull him down into their twisted fate. "Join us," they hissed more fervently now, and behind them, he could see Sarah's silhouette struggling against her own unseen restraints, the darkness coiling around her like vines. "Stay away from her!" Randy yelled, adrenaline surging through him. The world around him felt as if it were crumbling, rocks splintered above and dust rained down like heavy sorrow. Summoning what strength he had left, he pressed forward toward the pit, its terrifying depths clawing at his resolve. He could not let fear paralyze him. Just as he reached the edge, the world beyond seemed to tilt. A profane wail escaped the souls trapped within the pit, a keening that dug into his flesh. "Help us!" they pleaded, but he shook his head, fighting back the compulsion to lean closer. "You cannot save her." "Shut up!" he growled, pushing through the panic that surged up from his gut. "I can still save her." In front of him, shadows morphed, revealing glimpses of his past failures woven into a tapestry of despair. He felt the wall behind him shudder, the mind threatening to swallow him whole. But he couldn't think of himself. He had to be better than that. Better than the darkness. He focused on the flicker of light that represented Sarah. Her eyes locked onto his, wild and pleading, the warmth of their shared memories pulling him in like gravity. "Fight it, Sarah!" he shouted, hoping his voice could break through the chaos. "Remember our time in the lake? The stars? We can still find our way back." A flicker of recognition flashed across her face, mingling with the terror of the shadows surrounding her. Then the figures pressed closer, their eyes alight with malice. "You're too late, Randy," one taunted, voice soft and twisted. "You cannot save what is already marked by the mine." Before he could respond, the ground beneath him lurching, Randy lost his balance. With a jolt, he fell towards the brink of the pit, the abyss threatening to swallow him whole. A scream bubbled from his throat, but he was caught in a whirlwind of dust and rock. Above him, he barely glimpsed Sarah's hand reaching toward him, the connection between them, shimmering like a thread of hope amidst the encroaching dark, but the pit's breath engulfed him, filling his lungs with despair and suffocation. As blackness pulled him under, he thought he heard a voice, a final plea or a death knell. Was it Sarah? Or was the abyss already whispering its insidious secrets? In that moment, he realized if he was to escape, he had to confront not only the mind but the haunting shadow of his own past that had finally caught up with him. Could he pull them both back from the grim depths that yearned to keep them forever? His time was running out. Randy plummeted, gravity yanking him down into the abyss with a force that stole the breath from his lungs. The darkness enveloped him, a suffocating blanket of fear. Flickers of light warped and spun away as he fell, images of Sarah and memories of laughter weaving through the void. His heart raced, pounding like a drum, helpless against the encroaching silence, then a sudden jolt, a wall of solid rock. Pain exploded through his body, and he gasped as he collided with the cave floor. Dust swirled around him, pushing the gloom aside momentarily. Randy forced himself to his feet, muscles screaming in protest. He was alive, but where was Sarah? He swung his head around, straining his ears for any sign of her. The thick shadows still lurked, and the pit he once stood upon now felt like an endless chasm, its breath still chilling against his skin. The laughter from the depths returned, now sounding more like mocking cackles than the wicked symphony before. "Randy! Please!" Sarah's voice echoed, more distant than ever, calling from somewhere deeper below. Desperation surged within him like a tidal wave. "I'm here. I can't hold on much longer. Hold on, Sarah!" he shouted, each word laced with a fierce determination. He felt the weight of the mine pressing in on him. If he didn't act, he feared he would lose her forever. He ventured deeper, every cautious step illuminated by an inner fire sparked by love and sheer will. The darkness clung to him, teasing at the edges of his sanity as it whispered his insecurities, "You're not enough, you never were." "Shut up!" he growled at the echoes, shaking his head, fighting the voices that scrabbled at the corners of his mind. "I'll save her." Ahead, an eerie glow pulsated, beckoning him closer. He followed it, heart pounding like a war drum, praying it was a sign. As he neared, the light revealed itself as gnarled roots plunging into craggy rock, all writhing like repulsive serpents. They coiled, twined together, glowing with an unnatural energy. The light swirled, revealing images. Faces of those lost to this very mine flashed before him, despair-filled eyes, outstretched hands. Randy staggered back, understanding that somehow, their fates intertwined with Sarah's. No, no, no. He stammered, swiping a tear from his cheek. He had to focus, had to push forward. The air thickened as he pressed onward, the light flickering more fiercely ahead. "I'm coming, Sarah," he shouted, despair giving way to hope. But with each step, the ground trembled, as if the mine itself was protesting his journey. Before long, he reached a clearing, a small cavern breathing with the remnants of warmth and light. In the center, a beam of iridescent energy shot upward like a geyser. And at its base there she was, trapped amidst the roots, fighting against the entangling darkness. "Randy!" she cried, voice strained with urgency. "Help me!" His heart twisted at the sight. "I'm here." He rushed forward, but a wall of shadows materialized, blocking his path. The wailing cries of the damned rang in his ears, thrumming with an intensity that rattled him to the core. "Join us, you must join us," they hissed. "Never." He spat, adrenaline propelling him closer to the radiant beam. With a primal scream, he lunged, forcing his way through the oppressive gloom. A surge of energy pulsed from the roots, catching him off guard, and he stumbled back. Shadows clawed at him, wrapping around his wrists like iron chains. The malevolent figures swirled around him, their mocking laughter beating down on his resolve. "It's too late, Randy. She's ours," they chanted, and doubt seeped into his heart like ice water. Gritting his teeth, he fought against the darkness, a fire igniting inside him. "No. I won't give in." He roared, the spirit of every choice he'd made to protect Sarah roaring alongside him, but as the shadows pressed harder, suffocating him in a torrent of despair, a horrifying thought crossed his mind. Could he really save her? Or was the abyss already claiming them both? With time slipping through his fingers like sand, he had to make a choice. Would he plunge into the depths to save her, or would he succumb to the darkness, leaving everything behind? The shadows converged tighter, every heartbeat pounding with terror, the tunnel closing in. What sacrifice was too great when love was on the line? Randy barely caught his breath as the shadows tightened their grip, coating his limbs in icy restraint. The mocking laughter morphed into a cacophony of whispers, threatening to drown out his sense of purpose. "You'll never save her," they hissed. "Let her go. Join us in peace." "No." He shouted again, pushing against the pull of despair. He could see her, struggling against the roots, twisting and turning, her face a mask of fear. Each cry sliced through him like shards of glass. He sprinted forward, desperate to reach her. In an instant, as if sensing his resolve, the shadows recoiled, revealing a path. Randy wasted no time. He darted through the ever-thickening darkness, heart racing as hope flared. "Randy, please." Sarah's voice was barely a whisper, cracking under the strain. Each word smashed against his consciousness. The roots there. Alive. He knew the roots were powerful, but he didn't fully comprehend the depth of their sentience until he saw them quiver, weaving in a hypnotic dance. Was it a warning? Or an invitation? Instinctively, he reached out to the glow pulsating at the base of the beam, hoping it held the power to free her. As he approached, the vibrations intensified, filling the air with a low hum that resonated deep within his bones. "Stop!" came the voices again, this time shrill, desperate. "Do not touch it. You'll unleash what should remain buried." But Randy had no choice, Sarah's life depended on it. He grasped a root, and it twitched violently, sending shockwaves through his arm. Euphoria and agony clashed as he pulled. The light flared bright, momentarily blinding him. He could feel something awakening from the abyss, pulsing like a living thing stirred from slumber. Let her go. He screamed, pulling harder, desperation flooding his veins. The shadows screamed, swirling around him in a frenzy. He could feel the darkness clawing at his mind, threatening to drag him down with it. In the chaos, he caught sight of Sarah's pain-stricken face. Her eyes shone with fear, but beneath it all, he saw something else, something vibrant, something that said she believed in him. "Randy!" She cried out again, her voice piercing through the storm. "I can't hold on. You have to hurry." With a surge of determination, Randy pressed on, ripping the root from its anchor. A roar echoed through the cavern as a shockwave of energy surged towards him. It felt as if the very heart of the mine was cracking open, releasing a torrent of trapped souls, whispers mingling with the wails of the lost. As Randy yanked Sarah free, the light pulsed around them like a halo. For a moment, they were bathed in brilliance. But then, the light flickered, revealing shadows swarming like a living tide, snarling and hissing, frenzied at their escape. "Run!" Sarah screamed. The darkness retaliated, snapping at their heels, coiling around their ankles like snakes. Randy grabbed her hand, igniting a spark of strength in him. They dashed down the path he had come, roots and shadows writhing behind them, desperate to reclaim what they had lost. But as they sprinted further into the mine's depths, Randy realized that no matter how far they ran, the darkness wouldn't easily let go. "What are those roots?" Sarah gasped, glancing back to the chaos that lunged behind them. "Ancient, powerful," he panted, squeezing her hand tighter. Doubt knotted in his stomach. If he couldn't understand their nature, how could he defeat them? "Right now, we just need to focus on getting out." Randy pushed himself harder, their escape fueled by the heat of urgency. But deep down, he felt the chilling truth: the roots had awakened something far worse than mere shadows. And as another echo of laughter rose up, they knew one thing for sure: the battle was far from over, but what other horrors awaited them in the darkness beyond? The tremors of the mine roared like a dying beast as Randy and Sarah raced through the twisting tunnels, raw terror driving them forward. The shadows chased them, hissing and clawing, as if the very mine had awoken to reclaim its lost treasures. "Faster!" Randy urged, his voice strained and wild. "We can't let them catch us." "Where do we go?" Sarah cried, breathless but determined, her eyes wide with fear yet glowing with resolve. Randy peered ahead, scanning the suffocating darkness for any sign of salvation. It was difficult to think straight with adrenaline pounding in his ears. Every echo felt like 1,000 nails on a chalkboard, every flicker of his flashlight made him doubt what was actually there. Shadows danced just beyond the reach of light, twisting into shapes that resembled lost miners, calling them back into the abyss. "Follow me!" he shouted, pulling her down a narrower passage, rocks crunching underfoot as dust swirled around them. The walls felt alive, breathing heavily like a trapped creature, and the oppressive weight of the darkness nearly suffocated him. The passage tightened, forcing them closer together. Randy could feel Sarah's quick breaths mix with the cold air, her body pressed against his side as they sprinted out of sheer willpower. "I don't want to lose you again," he gasped, a knot of fear threatening to spill over. "You won, T," she promised fiercely, squeezing his hand tighter. But just as they rounded a corner, the ground beneath them trembled violently. A deafening crash erupted as a chunk of the ceiling collapsed, blocking the path behind them. The shadows rattled with fury, the screams from the past echoing in their ears, a warning of what awaited them if they faltered. Taking a deep breath, Randy skidded to a halt, his eyes wild with determination. "We have to keep moving. There has to be another way out." They darted into a larger cavern, dust clouds swirling in the weak beam of their flashlight. The air was heavy with the smell of iron and neglect, the walls lined with old mining tools, rusted and forgotten. But in the center of the cavern, the glow that once seemed so inviting now radiated an ominous energy. A pulsating light illuminated the tunnel opening that led deeper into the mine, mirroring their own frantic heartbeat. "Look!" Sarah pointed, her voice trembling. "It's like it's calling to us." Randy steadied himself, his heart fluttering with uncertainty. It might be a trap. No, Sarah insisted, stepping closer. It has to be the way out. Without thinking, he headed toward the light, compelled by both fear and hope. As they neared, the roots swirled around them, reaching out like skeletal fingers, attempting to ensnare their ankles. Shadows poured from the ground, and the whispers began again, soft, pleading, forever haunting. No. Stay back. Randy shouted, swinging his flashlight in wild arcs, struggling against the dark tendrils that clawed at him. Randy! Sarah cried out, terror lacing her voice, as she lost her footing. He lunged forward, snatching her wrist just before she fell back into the pitish void, reaching for them. Clenching his jaw, he pulled her up, fear bubbling in his throat. We're not done yet, hang on to me. They darted ahead, their hearts synchronized in a frantic rhythm as they reached the glowing opening. The light beckoned them, promising safety, but Randy's instinct screamed warnings of danger. What awaited them on the other side could either be salvation or damnation. Yet with the shadows bearing down and the cacophony of wailing spirits closing in, there was no time to hesitate. Now! He shouted, and they plunged through the light. Everything went white. A rush of energy enveloped them, a kaleidoscope of vivid colors swirling before settling into an expansive, glimmering chamber. They staggered to a stop, blinking against the brightness that illuminated everything around. Where are we? Sarah breathed, still gripping Randy's hand. I don't know, he confessed, taking in the crystalline walls and the ethereal glow that spilled out like liquid light. Then came a haunting wail, echoing from the darkness beyond the shimmering walls. Randy turned, heart sinking as he recognized the echoes of lost souls crying out for release. This is a prison, he murmured, realization dawning. The mine, it kept them here. Then we have to help them. Sarah declared fiercely, her eyes bright with determination. No. If we attempt to free them, we risk dooming ourselves. Randy warned, the weight of fear pressing down harder than ever. The chamber resonated with energy, shadows swirling like thunderous storms, whispering temptations and accusations. You are bound to the mine, join us, listen to them, Randy. Sarah urged. They need help. We can do this together. In that moment, the locket around Randy's neck pulsed, warning him of the dark energy that threatened to consume them both. Deep within him, the memories of laughter and warmth with Sarah surfaced. She needed him, as he needed her. Could love conquer the darkness surrounding them? Yes. We will help, he declared, his voice strong with resolve. But we must do it together. They clasped the locket, facing the shimmering portal and the shadows merging in their path. He thought of the sacrifices he would need to make, of bravery leaping into unknown territories. What price would they pay? Okay, let us do this. Sarah's voice sparked renewed courage within him. Together, they stepped forward. The glowing portal swirled as the darkness collided with the light, shadows hissing in rage. You can't escape. They shrieked, but Randy and Sarah held tight to one another and the locket, focusing on the memories that defined their bond. In the heart of chaos, they forged a path. The glow flared, sending out a pulse through the mine's very fabric, igniting a radiant light that enveloped the silhouettes in a beautiful embrace. The cries of the souls swelled into a harmonious song, rising above the tempest of darkness, swallowing the despair. Everything seemed to pause. The shadows howled, but their grasp loosened as Randy and Sarah stepped into the light, into freedom, and then came silence. Randy's eyes fluttered open, sunlight breaking through the haze as he found himself lying at the entrance of Morgan's mine, the morning fresh and bright. Sarah was beside him, peaceful and whole, and they both gasped in disbelief. Did we make it? She asked, disbelief flickering in her eyes. I think we did, Randy replied, pulling her into a tight embrace. Feelings of relief and joy cascaded over them like a warm wave. As they got to their feet, a sense of closure wrapped around them like a protective blanket. The mine stood still behind them, dark and foreboding, but today it held no power over them. Today was for the living. You feel that? Sarah breathed, a smile lighting her face. The air is different, we set them free. Randy smiled back, hope glinting in his eyes. We did. As they moved toward the sunlit road, hand in hand, Randy knew this was only the beginning of their stories. He could finally breathe freely, carrying the weight of shared memories and the promise of light. They stepped forward, a new dawn unfolding. The darkness would always be there. They would remember it, of course. But they had each other now, and that was worth everything. This is it, folks. What an incredible journey. But wait. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss any more exclusive stories like this. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and flood the comments section with your reactions and theories. What did you think of the ending? Did they really escape? Did you feel the fear? And don't forget to instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Grab those friends, bring them into the world of mystery, and let's keep this adventure going. Don't wait even one more second.